True love does not seek rest or pleasure. It seeks brokenness, total strain at every moment. For in this it can separate from the self utterly, the soul's total abandonment of all self-interest, that it might be totally free to give that self to the other, and receive from the other his self. Both people breaking themselves, separating from themselves, reaching out from themselves towards the other, thus uniting. When one sees the other sacrificing for him, that is the invitation of love. And so he wants to sacrifice. He wants to sacrifice everything. Not some of it some of the time, but everything all of the time, totally. He wants the union to be infinite, ultimate, and perfect. And so he wants to keep nothing back. He wants to sacrifice it all, his every thought, his every feeling. He wants no enjoyment. He wants to give all that away. Not even a moment of rest would he desire for himself, for he has no self. He has abandoned it and given it to the other, to his beloved, just as his beloved has done for him. And they are one, though he appears to men to be the most unfortunate of all, suffering unimaginably at every moment. Yet his suffering is his ultimate joy, for he does this voluntarily that he might give all to the other. That pain, that abandonment of self, that suffering is their union. They lose the moments of pleasure and they lose material things, but they gain each other. They gain oneness. And this is what the soul was created to gain. Not trinkets, not passing moments. He was created to gain the other, and the other being is Christ, who was the first to utterly give himself away in perfect ultimate love. When you hide your true self from others for the sake of pride, you lose the ability to be yourself, even alone with yourself. Will you pray for me with a passing thought once a week? Or will you yearn for me before God at all times of the day and night, crying out to him with fasting and tears? This is pleasing to the heart that loves and longs. You gave others the lowest and God gave you the highest. You gave them ultimate torture and he gave you ultimate joy. You esteemed others as nothing in your estimation, in how you treated them. And yet he still treated you as if you have ultimate worth. Save us, O Lord, whether we want it or not, and no matter what. Do not fear men or what can happen to you in this life. Remember the moment of death coming shortly, no matter what, and eternity after that. Do not use God in your relationship with him or things that he has revealed to you to impress anyone. It is a sin of sins. You who use religion to gain praise or come to church to gain friends or girlfriends, and you use the opportunity to set yourself in his place after your countless crimes for which he forgave you. They do good so they can be remembered, not because they love God. They gain nothing but a passing thought in the minds of men, though they impress many. You loved the delights of God's enemy. When one feels the love of God, or I should say feels it again, the shame, the contrition, the repentant pain comes from feeling this spirit of love and thinking that one has spent one's whole life living for pride, which is an opposing enemy spirit to love. It is anguish for the proud soul to feel loved. The proud soul wants to be craved, envied, desired, worshipped, lusted after, and respected. It does not want unconditional love, for in the light of such a unifying, humbling force, it feels ashamed. Love is a unifying power that brings many beings into one, while pride is an isolating, diminishing abyss that reduces all others to nothing. Love makes all one and raises to infinity the value of each being within that unity. Pride, on the other hand, diminishes the value of all other beings to nothing and desires to draw them into the self and consume them, to possess and control their every thought, and conform it to a chorus of affirmation and worship. Pride wants to be the only being in the universe, with all other beings like stars arrayed around it, serving only to shine upon it and illumine it. Love is existence. Love is reality. Love is the good beyond good. Pride is fantasy. Pride is non-being, darkness and death, the unnatural venom of Satan which he offers as his solution to man's emptiness, a solution which is treacherous and foreign to man's soul. Pride isolates every man alone, though they be physically placed in a crowd. If all people in the crowd are proud, then there is no crowd, but only a sea of isolated individuals. Pride, though seeming to honor people, only uses them as sources of affirmation. When one does not affirm it, then pride seeks to crush that person and reduce him to nothing, because pride is enraged and agitated by such rebellion. Verbal, mental, sometimes even physical retaliation against the refusal to admire and affirm and worship it is a must. In pride there is no good or evil. There is only affirmation or insult, and pride hates itself. The proud person hates seeing pride in others, because another proud person is not one who will adore or admire him, and so proud people come into conflict with one another. Pride is a liar. It tells its vessels that they are only loving themselves. It styles itself, quote, self-love, when it is in fact an antithesis of love, and actually hates the self. Why? Because the self is utter weakness, absolute nothingness, and pride desires to project strength. Pride is an actor. It does all for the eyes of men. It does away with the self and constructs instead a fake or false self that is more likely to be adored and worshipped. It does not care what its true self is, and it in fact has no self, for without the love of God, man ceases to be himself and becomes only a bottomless void of darkness, taking in the imagined admiration of others. It only cares about what it presents to other people, while love desires to give itself, its will, its wants, to the other. Pride desires to take the other for itself, to take the other's identity and self away, that the other might only live to see and worship it. Pride cannot stand to see love, for love convicts it. It fears love, because love shows it what it is, and exposes its supposed life as death. Thus it rails against love and ascribes to it false motivations. It seeks to teach children how to be proud as soon as possible, that their desire to be one with others and at peace with them might not agitate pride's own desire to dominate others. It tells children, never let someone else disrespect you, because respect is what pride craves, not union. The child's natural loving soul would be saddened by offense, because the other has rejected the opportunity to realize the beauty of friendship. And so when offended, the infant would continue to do good towards the other, that the other might be convinced to turn and accept such an offer. But the proud adults tell the infant to respond with hatred and wrath against insult and offense, since respect, not friendship, is their ultimate goal. Their, quote, friends are only other people with whom they have seen it opportune to seek respect together. Pride cannot believe that love exists. Its only version of love is lust and desire. Pride always ascribes to others selfish motives and false reasons, because it cannot see or believe that love exists, or that true selfless motives are real. It has forgotten love. Pride is a foreign land, in which one forgets one's homeland, which was love. The strong, perfect image that pride desires to present to others is its idol, its God, and anything that does not have these qualities is despised by pride. Therefore it hates people that have qualities that it does not desire to have itself and present to others. It hates the weak, it hates the flawed, it hates those who are mentally feeble. It hates things that it itself often has, but it tries to cleanse itself of its flaws by hating those flaws in others, because it cannot bear to see those flaws in itself. The natural motion of love is prayer, for love always reaches up to God, its ultimate source, and it always prays for others, desiring to bring them to God. For love desires to spread, and only by bringing them to God can others know love. Love desires to be shared. Love is ultimate evangelization. Without articulating aspects of doctrine, love shows people who God is and causes them to believe. Love is grateful. Pride demands gratitude. The one who sees love will naturally gravitate towards the true doctrine, for in it he recognizes what he already sees, and that is love. And there is only one doctrine in which this love is visible, not two, not three. There are not multiple paths to the top of the mountain. There is in fact no way to reach the top of the mountain except by being borne by the wings of love. Any other, quote, ascent is only a roaming around about the mountain's foothills. This is better than not attempting ascent at all, and far better than a descent. But without love, there is no approach to the summit, and only in Christ is this love found, not in any other figure or in any other way. Love is not compelling and forceful and addictive like pride is. Love is a spirit that allows freedom and lets one leave if one wishes. And if the soul has become addicted to pride, then pride constantly calls one back into non-being, into darkness. What if you went your whole life and never knew the one who is real? Your whole life false and fake. You throw away a kingdom, a paradise beyond words. Your true self, your true soul, that infinitely honored being that God has created you to be. You throw this away for a mere morsel of food. It is a crime beyond imagination. There is nothing worth throwing this away for, and you throw it away for the least, for a mere moment of superficial worthless pleasure. If you were to throw away your soul for the possession of the entire universe, even that would not make any sense or be understandable, for your soul is the means towards union with God Himself. You throw this away for nothing, literally for nothingness. You throw this away for a bite of food. Does such a crime not deserve an eternity of torture as justice? My own sense of justice says yes, and yet I have done it. If you don't love God with your whole being, then you have no reason to exist. Everything else is nothingness. I had made them feel totally cold and alone, when I might have shown them the love of God. To not be that light in the world is to rob children of their Father, and leave them as shivering, weeping orphans. When the whole world hates you, then the Lord will still love you. And the world hates you now, even though they praise you, yet they despise their own sins in you whenever they see them. So love God alone, and not your false vain purposes or idols, for they are all one or another form of pride, which is the wood from which idols are carved. Do you not think that judging another is only to tear down, defeat, and subdue in your mind what you don't want to be associated with? Desire is the devil's disguise. You want to be free from the one who can make you free, so you can be free to serve the one who wants to enslave you. Your desires enslave you. God makes you free from yourself. You want to be a prisoner and slave to your desires. Being a source of pleasure to someone else and being loved by someone else are two different things. He who made his heart a shelter for men was killed for pride, which offers no shelter. The ancient kings wanted to be worshipped as gods. You think you don't make their error? You think you aren't so vain? Yet you seek to be worshipped by all. Do you not know that you are a bottomless yearning who cannot satisfy them, cannot give them life, cannot be the only one who loves them, or stand beside them when death comes? Can you give them their every breath? What can you do for them? Nothing. You do not love them. You are only feeding their words and gazes to the monster of your pride. So let them worship and love Christ. I proceed toward a love that will make me sing to you, O Lord. My glorious destination, my high destiny, is to become one with you and one who sings to you forever. Don't deviate from God's way in order to convince people of God. Do you bring them to God because you want them to know and glorify God, or because your pride needs you to conform them to the way you think? Is it about God, or is it about relieving your agitation, which comes from the desire to control your world and your destiny, and to keep it aligned with the order of the interior world which you have constructed for yourself, in which you become who you want to be? After all the times treating other souls, beings of infinite worth, as nothing, you are still granted to yearn and to seek and to find. Don't run to the devil for protection from the devil. Don't distract your mind from one sinful fantasy by motivating yourself to do so with pride, or distracting yourself with another sin. Satan will knock you down with one hand and offer you a hand up with the other. You cannot wield Satan's sword. You take hold of it and it takes hold of you, after he has enticed you to grasp it. What an infinite measure of goodness it is to offer to the one who destroyed people in ultimate love, to invite one worse than a murderer to the total communion of self-sacrificial love, having first received the ultimate offer of this love from Christ in his first act of ultimate self-sacrifice. He came for him over mountains and seas, deserts and valleys, through fire and water, to be one with him. And Christ did this for one who had rejected love, destroyed the dreams of children, and having known the pain of being exploited as nothing, did the same to others. Who is this evil person that Christ invited to be a participant in total ultimate union of love with him? Is it not everyone? But until God reveals this to you, you cannot see how terrible it is to even gossip and manipulate a living soul made to be God's child. Wake up the last spark of who I am that still lingers and has not been done away with by sin, O Lord. After all this, you are still granted to yearn, to seek, to find. The deer runs through the woods, Lord. May he find his destination. Calling to the moon, his nameless yearning, may he find. We have here no continuing city. Make me one of yours, Lord, not one of those whose portion is in this life, but one who waits for you, keeping vigil, fighting fiercely and violently against every distraction until you come. Without God you would fall to every passion and urge, so place yourself above no one, or he may withdraw his grace from you and you fall into grievous sin. Do not be like those who cast in their lot with this world. They flourish briefly and revel in their time, but they will be no more, except in the darkness, where there is no love. They will be utterly forgotten like a breath of wind, while those who chose to turn down the pleasures and invitations of this evil world, the pleasures of selfishness, they will reign forever like the sun, shining in the kingdom of the Father. Suffer for selfless love now. Obtain glory that never fades. Above all, fight pride, which breeds all sin, and which kills the most precious thing that you have, which is your very self, and it makes you false and a stranger to yourself, allowing some more impressive imitation of you to take your place. As you lay dying in your pain, they laughed at you, and you made excuses for them, trying to get them off the hook. And we, in our arrogance, seek revenge for a mere insult. Without God there is nothing. You feel it in your soul. Pride is absolute nothingness.